Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Kingdom Politics Podcast. My name is Michael Huffman, and as always, I'm here with my good friend, Pastor Will from Hollywood Church here in Falmouth area. How you doing today, Will?
Great, great. We're back live again, and back. We had a pre-recorded last week, and we're back. I'm back from vacation, so we're back live for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Man,
until YouTube cancels us.
That's right, which is it's liable to happen in any week.
Yeah, that's true.
We may get targeted. So yeah, it is good to have you back from Alaska. The guy finally got his sea legs, and now he's back. And so y'all pray for Will. He is running on not a lot of sleep. He got in last night at 10:15 at his house from traveling from 7 a.m. the previous day or that day. And he met me today for lunch because I asked, and he obliged me. And so here we are.
Yeah.
But it was good to have you back. Well, I want to introduce somebody that's very special to Kingdom Politics, very special to the Virginia Assembly of Independent Baptists, very special to me personally. Delegate Karen Hamilton from House District 62 is on with us today. Delegate Hamilton, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate your time.
It's good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Delegate Hamilton is one of the fierce fighters in the Richmond General Assembly. Mm-hmm. She's one of the few people actually on the right that I can go to for help and encouragement, and always know that her answers are from the Bible, the Word of God, the Spirit of God, because she is herself a born-again believer. She and her husband Cameron, he is the administrator of FEMA, and so we're very honored to know both of them. And so she is a patriot, a gun owner, and a cowboy boot wearing cowgirl.
That's right.
Yeah, she showed a picture of when she packed for the Capitol, and right on top of her cowboy boots, right on top of right on top of the luggage. Well, Delegate, we know that your time is precious, and again, thank you for being here. Will and I have got some things that we're going to talk. We want to talk about. We want to first of all talk about the budget.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in the Commonwealth, because the thing about the budgets are most Virginians have absolutely no idea what's in the budget. They have absolutely no idea. Even those people that voted for Abigail Spanberger on her affordability plan have absolutely no idea that her new budget increases spending by $9 million a day. Mm-hmm. $9 million a day. And so the surplus that we were left by Governor Glenn Youngkin is quickly dwindling away because of the new affordability plan of Abigail Spanberger. But not only that, but most Virginians do not have an idea of what is in the Virginia budget. So can you give us an idea of what was in the budget that troubled you? Of course, we understand a few things, but give our listeners, our viewers, an overview, if you would, of the things in the budget that were most troubling for you.
Sure. Well, we voted on the budget about a week and a half ago. And for those who don't know, in Virginia, you basically just get a yes or no vote on the budget. So, you may like a couple of things in the budget. In this budget in particular, we had a few good things, some teacher raises, we had law enforcement raises, corrections officer raises. So some of those things were good. However, we had other troubling things. We had increased spending for basically it will end up going to Planned Parenthood to cover kind of the contraception legislation that went through. We had we had the increase $15 million, I think, for the Attorney General's office to basically strip away our gun rights, and we're seeing that play out in the courts right now. We had let's see, where's my list of a few things that they, we didn't see what we wanted to with the data centers. They attempted to kind of put a Band-Aid on the data center drama. Louise Lucas was wanting to cut the data center sales tax and kind of hold them accountable. Abigail Spanberger and Luke Torian, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee in the House, said that no, we need to keep our promises to data centers, but they ended up saying that we'll slap on a consumption tax, which is basically just kind of a 2-year Band-Aid for the electricity consumption. To me, that's not a long-term solution to that problem. Um, so yeah, there were several issues that were problematic for me. We see Governor Youngkin left this surplus, and yet it still wasn't enough. Earlier on in session,
Oh,
Democrats attempted to increase our taxes in many different ways, just on daily use things like home repairs, Uber Eats, counseling, even dog walking and dog grooming. Just insane amount of tax increases that they were attempting to put on us. But overall, one of the main things that kind of bothered me was the legislator pay increase. It would have been one thing if they would have tried to just match it with inflation or do it
yeah.
step by step, because legislators haven't been given a pay increase in about 30 years, I think it is. But I think it was just tone deaf for them to attempt to and their increase of spending along with their increase of spending on themselves. And so it just ended up being affordability for legislators and special interests, and not so much affordability for Virginians. Additionally, one of the things that bothered me was that we're stripping away money from some of our law enforcement, the SRO officers that protect children in schools. Some of that funding was cut. And, if we really want to get serious about protecting our children and preventing school shootings and things like this, we need those school resource officers. We need that program to be sufficient for the needs. And so there were many policies that, of course, they also worked back in the retail marijuana. I took issue with
My
that.
favorite.
They increased funding to higher education, which may not sound like a bad thing, but it bothers me because these public institutions are sitting on multi-billion-dollar endowments, and I'm just wondering why we have to keep hitting the taxpayers with millions of dollars in order to fund these institutions. So in addition to that, they hit us with a carbon tax, which is going to increase everybody's power bill. So many things that bothered me, an overall bad budget, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Of course.
Because people, one thing I've heard is, and I think people just misunderstand. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the surplus that Youngkin left over, it was not his to give away. It was the incoming governors and the incoming general assemblies to give away if they were going to do that. Because a lot of people made arguments, well, how come Governor Youngkin didn't give it away before he left? And that's not how it works. So I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, I mean, that money
About
that money belongs to the people of the Commonwealth. It doesn't belong to an elected official.
Right.
And so for him just to have spread the wealth would have not been a thing of integrity to do. So I know why he didn't do that. Well, one question I've got about the AG's office, Delegate Hamilton, you said $15 million to the AG's office. I wonder if that's going to include spell check software. She brings out the spicy in me, you know that?
Yeah, it's Attorney General. General.
Tony General and the Senators of Virginia.
Well, you got to pay.
That's
you
right.
have to pay people to do his job because he doesn't try things.
No.
That's right. I think he hired somebody out in California to argue the referendum case.
He did.
And
Yeah.
you can't make this stuff up. You hire somebody from California to argue Virginia constitutional law.
Well, I was sitting in the Supreme Court the Monday that case was heard, and I was 3 rows back from the attorney. I was sitting right behind Nick Minock from ABC up in Northern Virginia, and he and I were talking, and I was expecting Jay Jones to be in the room. But, of course, he's never litigated a case before a judge in his life. So, I mean, I don't know why I expected that. But, yeah, he had hired out from California, and we were shocked at that.
Yeah.
So the question
Pretty sad.
Yeah, that is super sad.
Yeah.
That would be like, instead of preaching, I just hire somebody else Sunday morning and
Right.
go sit down.
From another religion.
Yeah, exactly. What is your opinion on this whole litigating through the budget? That's the other thing that or legislating. Sorry, not litigating. I was thinking about lawyers.
Sure.
I think a lot of people don't understand that a lot of legislation goes through. So, like the pot shops that are going to come 350 that went through and passed, and then Abigail Spanberger vetoed it, but now it's back because it got put into the budget. A lot about what we talk about on here is integrity and transparency, and that's about as least transparent as you can get, in my opinion, is to slide it into a budget.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think, it definitely doesn't serve Virginians well. We're supposed to be arguing these things through the course of several votes through the House and the Senate, and scrutinizing them. And I think you just kind of short circuit that, and it magically appears. And so, and we've seen Governor Spanberger contradict herself. She said that she didn't want to legislate through the budget. She saw that this was probably going to take place, and that was one of her, I think, pushbacks against Senator Louise Lucas, is that she didn't want to do that. And then there she was doing it. The same thing with the redistricting. She said she didn't support that, and then lo and behold, yes, she did. So I'm not sure who's exactly calling the shots, but it doesn't necessarily seem like she is.
Well, it makes you wonder, Delegate, when Abigail Spanberger sends an amendment back to the House, decreasing the House and Senate, decreasing the number of cannabis stores from 350 to 200. So it's not that she had a problem with the overall process of having retail cannabis. She just was uncomfortable with 350 stores. And so then when the Democrats rejected that, then she vetoed it. It kind of makes you wonder. And now they're, like you said, they're now back in the budget, the 350. It kind of makes you wonder what back office deal was made. What did they have over her head to make her totally flop on her own amendment to put it back to the 350 and to put it back in the budget? Because politics is dirty if you are dirty. And I know that I've been it long enough to know that I've been around it long enough to know that a lot of back office deals are made, and people, dangle carrots over people's heads, or they're passed over people's heads to try to make deals. So it kind of makes you wonder what the left has over to Abigail Spanberger to cause her to flop on this. Of course, no one will ever know except the people that were in that room.
Yes, I know. We could certainly speculate. I think a lot of this had to do with ego and who was going to set, the stage for the next 4 years, and who was going to call the shots going forward. And I wasn't certain who was going to blink first. I kind of had my money behind Senator Lucas, because I thought that she's getting up there in years. She's coming under scrutiny herself, and she just kind of seemed like she was going to burn it down if she didn't get her way. I think she actually got more than most people think with the weed deal and all of that, and the Medicaid funding expanding as well. But she did take a hit on the data centers.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered, when they keep bringing up, you brought up Medicare expansion. Have you ever wondered when they keep bringing up in the General Assembly HR 1, and I wish I had a dime for every time they tried to blame that on the problems of Virginia. Somebody needs to articulate, and it probably has been, just people aren't listening, that the millions of people that are going to lose their Medicaid funding as a result of HR 1 are illegals that are getting it that shouldn't be getting it, and those people who refuse to work. Aren't those the typical people that are going to be losing their Medicaid? And so then why does Virginia have to expand their Medicaid? Just don't give the benefits to people that do not deserve the benefits.
Yes, that's a good point. I feel like we're going to be losing that argument for the next few years, but that's a good point.
Well, because they've created a base of people. I mean, if you're getting free healthcare, why would you not vote for them?
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the same thing in California when they release people or they get rid of the minimums, which they're going to try to do next year. Why you've created voters, and you've created a base that's frankly not going to go against you because your other choice was jail, or your other choice is medical debt, which is most people have it.
Yeah,
that's right. And actually, that's a good point. I mean, that's kind of the unspoken thing that everybody has thought, that this was another voting base that they wanted to tap into. But I haven't actually looked into the numbers of what that would mean for Virginia statewide. If that goes into effect, God forbid these amendments pass, but if that goes into effect, how many numbers are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can dive into like look at the amount of Medicaid Fairfax County gets every year. It's hundreds of millions of dollars every year in Fairfax County. And Fairfax County is one of the few counties in the Commonwealth that is losing taxpayers but gaining population.
That's wild. I mean, I would like to
It's-
see
that's true.
I would like to see a Medicaid audit,
Yeah.
because we're spending such a significant portion of our budget on this, and we don't exactly know. We're seeing in other states just how widespread the fraud is, and I would like to see just how much of it is being wasted in Virginia. Because when it comes down to it, these arguments that we wrestle with in the budget, it comes down to honoring and stewarding the money that taxpayers give us. And when we're failing to do that, or failing to govern.
Yeah. Because the federal government is not going to fund Medicaid if there's a certain percentage of error rate. I think if it's over 3% error rate, the federal government starts backing off on what they allow. And I think the last time I looked it up in the last meeting I was in, I think Virginia's error rate is at 11%. And so the federal government is not going to, at least under Trump, is not going to fund a system in a state or a commonwealth that is trying to give, and of course an error would be somebody who's getting the benefits that aren't supposed to get the benefits.
Yeah.
And the federal government is not going to fund Medicaid, a state program, when the Commonwealth or the state is allowing people to get it who don't deserve it. This is not an anti-immigration statement, but if you are not a citizen of the United States and not a citizen of the Commonwealth of Virginia, then you don't get government benefits.
Well, and it's not just them either, too, right? It's also people who could work,
yes,
and have insurance that don't.
Correct.
I've talked to people that are a couple generations in on the whole, welfare and things we put in place in the 70s, and don't talk to the first generation. Talk to like the third or fourth generation that we're on now, and they have no ambition. They don't desire to go far in life. They don't have desire for goals. Why would they? Everything's given to them.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
It is sad. And honestly, this legalization of the weed is going to make things so much worse, because it just steals young people's ambition.
Absolutely.
And we're kind of losing that self-motivation in our culture that wanted to strive to constantly improve and be independent. And it's a sad thing to see. And if we lose that, we will lose our nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like we were talking at lunch, like think about the freedoms that the progressives are offering. They're offering you to get high whenever you want. That's not freedom.
No.
And kill and be sexually very promiscuous and then kill your baby, and just the list goes on and on. Yeah, no responsibilities, and really just increasing shame, honestly, for our young people, because I think they don't feel good about themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah.
No, because the young people now, I forget the stat now. It's something like 65% of teenagers are on some sort of pill. There's no way that amount of teenagers need to. There'll always be some on pills, but
yeah,
I mean, those are like your invincible years. Like you can run through brick walls.
Right. But
that's why I have bad knees now.
Yeah, they're depressed, they're anxious, they're more medicated than ever. The suicide rates are up, and they're confused about their gender. There's so many sad, statistics we could pull on for the youth right now. So
yeah. And our answer was to 350 weed shops will make it better.
That'll make it better.
Yeah.
Well, like you and I were talking before, the Commonwealth saw a money avenue that they were missing. Hey, man, we've already made marijuana illegal. Now we need to or legal. So now we need to make some money. So, Delegate Hamilton, correct me if I'm wrong, but by the time you add the cannabis committees or commissions tax, which is maxes out at I think 11%, and then you add in the local sales tax, I think that you're looking at a sales tax of about 16.5% per transaction on cannabis sales. And it's interesting to me that you can only buy 2 ounces of marijuana per transaction, not per
Okay.
day, but per transaction. So you get, now the original bill stated that they were targeting areas that had a 50% or greater drug related charges and giving licenses to people who had previous drug charges. Now that's what the original bill said in 25. I'm assuming, because is that what the bill version in 26 said as well?
I would have to go back and look at it. To tell you the truth, I don't recall the specifics of that
Okay,
legislation.
that was,
It was just
unless Paul Krizik changed it dramatically. Delegate Sherry and I were looking at that bill in his office one day, and we both discovered those 2 clauses in the 2025 version. Now, assuming that wasn't taken out, so we're putting 350 marijuana stores in high drug areas operated by people with former drug charges.
Well, yeah, you're not going to put them in
what
places
could
where
go
people are
wrong?
sober.
Yeah, what could go wrong with that? And you can buy 2 ounces per transaction. Boy, I can see the boys lining up with a week's stash of marijuana. We'll just do that in 5 transactions. And because that's
Right.
what the law will allow.
There was a place in Oregon, I forget the name of the town, but they basically legalized all drugs. I'm talking about like heroin and stuff. And it went so poorly that it only lasted a year, if that. And they had to bring back not just the drug laws, but stricter drug laws to fix all of the crime that just exploded in that area. These soft on crime, it just never works. It's never the answer. The answer is not get higher and legalize being high. That's not going to help anyone.
Yeah.
It's not going to help people dealing drugs. It's not going to help people get out of that lifestyle. It's going to help some people line their pockets with other people's misery.
Yeah.
And why is the
That's
state
right.
involved in
Yeah,
that?
and they just made our law enforcement jobs so much more difficult, frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking about one more portion about the budget, because when I was in the chamber on Monday of this week, you all were considering the amendments. Tell us about the amendment on HB 1524 to put off the enactment for another year. That was, of course, Delegate McGuire's bill to basically disallow anybody to carry a gun, quote, anywhere in public, end quote.
Right. So that it basically gets rid of open carry in Virginia. Yeah, they wanted to delay implementation to next year. So on the surface level, it looked like, oh, this is a good thing. We should support this. I decided to oppose it. For one, I decided to vote no on things that I just opposed in general, even if it made it slightly better, because I didn't want to give any positive vote on the idea. But I think this was just them trying to stall and see what happens as this court process plays out. And they don't want to scrap all of their bills. So I think if they can adjust that one, especially the definition of assault weapon that may kind of shift over time. I think they were trying to just stall and not exactly give a win to our side. So I oppose that. We'll see what happens, but I think it's hopeful today. Just for your viewers, we got another win. The DOJ said they are going after Virginia, and they are going to stand up for gun owners. So that's encouraging.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. We're seeing a big movement at the Supreme Court. The decision they made about the Hawaii ban on we're carrying a weapon in private places without store owner permission. Supreme Court voted 6-3 that was unconstitutional. So and then you've got Bruin, you've got Heller, you've got McDonald. I mean, you've got all these cases. It's amazing to me. I mean, we understand the heart behind it, but it's amazing to me that the Democrats can look at how the Supreme Court is going to rule, at least in our present Supreme Court, because of how they have ruled. And they've got to know that this is ultimately where all these cases are going to end up. And so therefore they've got to know that they are going to lose. And how many times did you all tell them on the House floor? And because I also heard them say it on the Senate side, but I know you all told them many times on the House floor, go ahead and pass it. It's going to be litigated and you're going to lose. And so they've got to know that this is how it's ultimately going to end up. But I live with the notion that the reason that they do what they do is so they can go back to their districts and say, well, we tried. This is what we tried to make the streets safer, but that Republican-led Supreme Court doesn't mind our streets being unsafe.
Sure. And you were there on Monday. Delegate Garrett gave a great kind of a I told you so, or I'm going to tell you so when this doesn't work out in your favor. And yes, the writing is kind of all over the wall. People have been nervous that the Supreme Court wasn't going to take up the case, but I think all signs are showing that they are willing to look at some of these gun cases. So I'm hopeful we're going to get a win in the end. It's a shame that, they're using taxpayer money by the millions to try to strip us of our constitutional rights. And but at the end of the day, if this ends up creating a constitution, a Supreme Court ruling that protects states across the nation, this is going to be for the better. So
yes,
we'll see how it plays out. In the meantime, people are not able to buy weapons as freely as they used to be, as of today. So even with the injunctions in place, my understanding is that that's not preventing, it's not allowing the gun stores to actually bring in weapons. They're just the VSP cannot actually go after people, but it doesn't change anything as far as the sale. You may have some more information on that, but
I think people are more in a holding pattern to see what happens
with
the courts. Yeah, it's crazy. The crazy part to me about especially the 2A stuff now, I own a weapon. I was trained in them. I'm fine with them. It's for me, it's more of
I am a weapon.
Oh, I believe that.
Yep.
That's why.
Hear me roar. Here I come.
You know what? It's really Delegate Hamilton might relate to this. I would be really fast. We were fishing in Canada the other day, and we caught a poacher. And so the boat captain had to go do his thing, and I can't turn off the security-minded stuff in my head, so I had no idea who this was that we were rolling up on, and so I'm ready to go. I was ready to board a boat, and
that's funny.
The captain turned around.
Pastor Will went all the way to Alaska to overtake a fishing boat, a John boat.
It was a John boat and some old guy poaching.
He beat up some 90-year-old poacher in a Johnny boat with a 15-horsepower motor. He could paddle faster.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, man. The captain turned to me, and I was like, don't worry, I was ready. And he just looked at me like I was crazy.
He's like, ready for what?
Yeah, he was.
Will says, I was ready, man. Let's go.
He was this really nice Canadian guy just taking his fishing. And I was funny. Ready to roll.
Wow. Hey, you can never be sure.
If you'd have told me that at lunch, I'd have spit my chalupa across the store.
Oh, man. Our Canadian friends are much nicer.
Yes, they are.
He just taking pictures.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Delegate, about the Supreme Court decision yesterday, not allowing transgender, what the ramifications of their 6-3 decision. Of course, the usual suspects were the dissenters, Kagan and Sotomayor, and the Biden appointee, Jackson. And what do you think the ramifications are? I'm not really certain. Even though I agree with the ruling, you know me well, Delegate, you know that I'm an originalist as you are. And I really wasn't comfortable with even the majority opinion trying to use the 14th Amendment to justify their ruling, although I agree with the ruling.
Right.
I agreed with Kavanaugh's position more so that this ruling does not nullify or contradict Title IX. Now, it's important for our listeners, our viewers, to know that Title IX is not part of the Constitution. It is part of the federal statute under education, and it does not allow for discrimination in education on the basis of sex. Now, it's important for our viewers also to know, and this was Kavanaugh's position, that deals with biology, not identity, which is why their ruling does not contradict Title IX. So while I was uncomfortable with them stretching to the limits of what I believe the founding fathers originally intended the 14th Amendment to say, I did appreciate what Kavanaugh said about about Title IX and the clarification there. What do you think could be the ramifications, if any, in the Commonwealth of Virginia? Because we have seen legislation killed time and time again in the General Assembly, not allowing boys and girls sports. I know that Senator Mulcahy has brought the bill a couple of times, and it has been PDI'd both times. And so there were a couple of legislators that brought this past session. So what do you think the ramifications of this decision could be for the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Sure. I was just talking to a school board member yesterday about this issue, and she had said that the Virginia High School League, I guess, is a state board that gives policy, but it's not exactly enforced, and so
Correct.
certain districts handle it differently, and so I would be, I'm hopeful that now that we have something to stand on from the Supreme Court, that we're going to be able to get some actual legislation passed on this protecting girls. However, I could also see the Democrat-led General Assembly saying, "Well, we already have this policy, in Virginia, and we don't need any additional protections," because they love to say that to us on positions we want to strengthen. However, they use it all the time for us. We've seen it time and time again with whether it's reproductive health care stuff or some of their top issues that they constantly want to take into higher and higher levels of enforcement and put into our Constitution even. So we'll see what happens. I would like to see somebody bring that legislation forward again. I believe who carried it most recently? Was it Delegate Oates or
Delegate Oates carried
Griffin?
one. Delegate Oates carried it on the House side, and I believe Senator Peake carried some version of it, and I think Senator Mulcahy carried a different. They were separate bills, but not dissimilar. I take that back. It was Senator Durant that carried it last year. That it wasn't wasn't the same as Senator Peake, but wasn't dissimilar. I think they had a couple of different focuses, but it was the same result. But yeah, I think it was Delegate Oates on the House side that carried it. And of course, all three were PDI'd immediately.
Of course. So I'm sure, we've got good reason to bring that back. Nobody carried it this year. I had thought about carrying it, but figured it was going to get struck down. And I had already stacked myself too high, so I decided not to carry it. But I'm sure somebody will. If Dolores doesn't want to, if Delegate Oates doesn't want to, I will.
Very good. Very good.
It kind of amazes me. So a year ago, the Supreme Court had to rule. So not that far from where you and I are at right now, about an hour and 10 minutes up the road in Montgomery County, they were not letting parents opt their kids out of LGBTQ. I don't know the acronym anymore. You know what I mean? Literature. They were reading.
You don't know the 20 other letters that are in that?
No, I honestly.
Come on, man. If you're going to come on this show, you got to be prepared.
I don't know.
LGBTQIA element Z.
Yeah, there you go. So they weren't letting parents opt out of that.
Talking about a word salad.
Yeah, it's too much. Just pick 4.
Or go away.
Yeah. So then I had to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled, of course, that parents can opt out. Waste of money, waste of time. And now we're doing it again a year later. I believe it was Idaho and West Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, were the two cases they used for this one. These are the types of things that people need to take to Republicans in their bases and kind of wave the warning flag or whatever. This is common sense stuff. This is not complicated. And the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has to take time out of their schedule to protect women in sports. That's how far we've gone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They don't have better things to like. That's a common like just the dads should be like, no, we're done with this. And you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is a
Yes.
citizen thing, not a Supreme Court thing, is what I'm trying to say.
I 100% agree. And I was at this this women's prayer group yesterday, and these are women that are, you know, pretty informed and just concerned with what we're seeing in the nation and in many areas. And we were talking about how to solve some of these problems. And I said, we cannot wait for the highest levels in government to do something. We cannot wait for the Republican Party. It's only going to change when individuals stand up and are willing to risk something, honestly, because
Yep.
you know, a lot of parents they feel like it may be wrong for their child to participate in this sport when there's a boy, but they don't want their child to miss out on playing. So it's like, unless we are willing to personally sacrifice, unless people are willing to um, you know, get criticized for it.
Mhm.
And, you know, years ago, we saw during COVID, people risk losing their job in order to stand up against a vaccine mandate when they felt um, morally opposed to that. And, but very few, there's a very small amount of people that are actually willing to personally sacrifice. And until we get to a point where that's more of a norm, I don't think we're going to see much change on anything, because the government is very slow, if ever, to do the right thing. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and this is where Christians are way off base. I mean, they call Jesus a glutton and a drunkard.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't think we're going to get called names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like our Lord and Savior is accused of being drunk and fat, basically. But for us, though, no, we can't. You know, you have to point out when something's wrong, particularly for kids and women. And it's always kids and women that are the victims of these things.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one going into a male sport and dominating. That's not a
Right.
male.
There's no woman going into men's boxing and crushing them.
No, it's not happening. Is LeBron going to the WNBA? He's a free agent right now.
Hey.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
You're
not.
right. You're right. And I've made that point many times on Twitter, just saying that, you know, who are the victims of these progressive policies? It is always the most vulnerable
Every
among
time.
us. It's the unborn, it's young children, it's disabled people, it's women, it's the weakest among us. And you know, you can't claim to be the compassionate and empathetic and tolerant party when you don't care one bit about the victims of some of these policies.
No, and I was an athlete in college, and an athlete for a long time, and I knew a lot of women athletes, NCAA athletes, Division I athletes, and those women worked hard. Like it's harder than people think. With school and yeah, all the expectations and being at that level, and it's incredibly difficult. And you work your entire life to get there, and then to have someone walk in and just yank it from you, that doesn't need to be there is that alone is really upsetting to me, just because I saw how hard they worked
Right.
firsthand.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting into the safety issues, just the amount of time and effort that you put in, and especially to get to Division I college athletes, like that's like your whole life, you know, depending on what level of Division I. But any Division I school is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the higher ones. I've heard Riley Gaines speak a few times, and I've heard her tell her entire story about what it was like with I don't know his name.
It was Leah Thomas. I don't know what his actual name is.
Yeah, I was trying to think of his actual name. To be in the locker room and what they told those girls, it was so upsetting. And you know, where's the church on this one?
Yeah.
That's right.
Quiet as crickets.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Yes.
on my worst day, I will maybe not my worst day, but when I'm not in a very good mood, I will get up and say things like, all this legislation does is put what like you guys have been saying, the most vulnerable
Yeah.
at harm's way, and protects perverts.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, a man who wants access to a woman's locker room is a pervert.
Mm-hmm.
A man who wants access to a woman's bathroom is a pervert, more so than not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not some people out there that have got some wire crossed because of the fallenness of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But more times than not, it has to do with perversion more than the need for accessibility. Because let's be real, if you're a man, will your pride will let you succeed in a women's sports team?
No.
Yeah, I beat up a girl in wrestling.
Right.
No, what's worse is when the girl beats you up.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen too.
I've seen that happen too.
I mean, there's some girls I wouldn't mess with.
I don't know.
Well, in middle school, before the testosterone fully kicks in for the guys, their girls are still kind of holding their own in wrestling.
Yeah.
But then in high school, I mean, there's no way you would want girls and boys in high school to be
Exactly.
wrestling against one another. So it's just biological, too different at that time.
Yeah.
It just amazes me that we have to have these conversations. I mean, I'm only 43. I'm not that old. And
What are you saying about us that aren't?
there's not, I don't know what happened in the 30s, but oh, you know what? Actually, I have a better example. You know Pastor Shane.
Oh, yeah.
He's from California. He grew up in California, and he was telling me one day, he's like, even in California when I was a kid, nobody would have imagined boys and girls locker rooms. And he's the same age as us. And so we're talking about the 90s. We're
Yeah.
not talking about, 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so fast. And the church is just so quiet and
Yeah.
failed to act properly. And now you have denominations just crumbling because of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All over the place. There's no denomination that is not immune to it.
No.
Right. I mean, you see, I have passed some churches of certain denominations completely wrapped around their perimeter in rainbow
Mhm.
flags during June. And I'm just like, what is going on here? I mean, and all they
Mhm.
care about is welcoming everyone. They don't care about sanctification. They don't care about
Mhm.
preaching the regenerative gospel of Jesus Christ that saves us from our sin. It's
Yeah.
just crazy. Yeah, the failure of the church overall has led to where we are. If we had a louder church, if we had bolder people in the pulpits, I don't think we would be in this circumstance.
In my book that I wrote, Reclaiming Our Constitutional Republic, the first chapter is on. It's entitled "The Church Was the First Line of Defense," and that's what's lost is the church has lost its voice because they are too afraid to offend. Well, you can't say this, brother, because I've got Democrats in my church. Well, and they don't agree with you. Well, if you've got people in your church, I honestly ask this question to myself. I'll probably get a few emails this week, coming week on this statement. But I asked myself, well, if you've got people in your church that are pro-choice, what kind of gospel are you preaching, if at
Yes.
all?
Yeah.
They ought
Because
to
if
be
they are
uncomfortable sitting
pro,
in that pew.
exactly,
Oh.
if they are pro-choice, they're not going to tolerate the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so, what else are you equivocating on? And I want to caveat or segue rather from on that statement, Delegate, to some bills that you carried last year you carried 14 bills last year and 13 of them failed. And the only one that they accepted was you're celebrating the life of was Cecil Breeden, I think it was. Now this is not in the special session. You did one for Madison in the special session, I think. This is the 2026 session. And just for our viewers, they rejected them because they reject life. They reject decency. The first one they rejected of yours, well, maybe not the first one, but the one on the list that I've got is HB 531, which was the Born Alive bill. You carried it on the House side Senator Glenn Sturdivant carried it on the Senate side. It almost passed subcommittee on the Senate side, amazingly. In
Really?
fact, yeah, because
I mean,
the chairman of that committee, I can't remember who it is, had to leave and left Pekarski in charge. That was a dangerous thing to do. Leave Stella Pekarski in charge of anything, much less a
yeah.
subcommittee. Left her in charge of a subcommittee, and Senator Lamont Bagby was on this committee and everything like that. So it was the first time I ever had to give a testimony sitting down and not standing in a lectern. So that was real odd. But they almost didn't get enough votes for it to die. And I remember Stella, Senator Pekarski, frantically saying, well, does somebody else want to make another motion? And then somebody finally made a motion to PDI it because the motion was to accept it. And then nobody else was saying anything. And you saw her get real frantic. And it's like, oh, man, I was left in charge. If I blow this, they'll never let me carry anything else.
Wow.
But it was killed pretty quickly. I was with you in the House and with the Born Alive bill. And a lot of times what I hear, I just kind of want to make this real quick. A lot of times what I hear is that people will say that the founding fathers did not have anything to say about abortion. Well, that's not true, because James Wilson, who was a founding father, he was a signer of the Constitution. He was a member of he was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Washington. He made the statement that at the moment of quickening, that baby is entitled to protection under the law. And what was his idea? Of course, you and I understand the Old English word quickening means to be made alive, Ephesians 2:1, to make alive. But his point was, as soon as that woman knows that she is pregnant, or as soon as there is issues or facts of life, a heartbeat, brain activity, our founding fathers said that child is deserving of protection under the law. And of course, they didn't have the biology or the medical science that we do now. We now know. Then for those guys, it was 16 weeks, but now we know that we can detect a heartbeat at 21 days. That's 3 weeks. We can detect brain activity, and so James Wilson would have said that child deserves protection at 3 weeks, because that's when quickening happens. Now, you and I understand quickening happens at the moment of fertilization, at the moment of conception. Quickening happens, a life begins to form. But just taking his words and medical science today, the founding fathers would have said every child has the right to life. Every unborn child has the right to life at 3 weeks, because that's when we can detect a heartbeat. So I want to ask you, are you going to bring your Born Alive bill back next year?
Yes, I plan to bring that one indefinitely until we succeed.
Very good. Very good. And in case, just for our viewers, would you please give an overview of I mean, it's pretty obvious what it is, but just could you give an overview of what that bill would require?
Sure. That bill basically says that if a baby survives the attempt of an abortion, that they must be treated as any other baby of the same gestational age and given the care that any other baby would receive. So it's basically a common sense bill that, human being, other human being, not one that was trying to be terminated.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, Delegate Askew raised his flag for PDI pretty quick after public testimony on that bill.
That one, he went after me on the Sage's
He did
law.
go after you on Sage's law too. Yeah.
Yes, he's for some reason he does not like me. I've had several run-ins with him, and it was funny because everybody told me he's so nice. He used to be in LA, and he's really nice, and so I went in thinking, oh, I'm going to try to get along with anybody I can get along with, but
Sure.
yeah, he doesn't like me for some reason, but that's okay.
Well, whatever we can do to help with that, we already talked at lunch. when we were talking about questions. And I want to thank you for putting that bill forward because I use it I've done a bunch of pro-life stuff with the abortion amendment coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I use it every single time that I speak because it shows exactly where the quote unquote progressives are at in terms of caring for the unborn, and it's at zero.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because they would have voted. This is a no-brainer bipartisan bill. It should be at least.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not. But this, even more so than the amendment, when I go speak, helps people understand exactly how far down the road they are.
Mm.
So,
No, that's a
even
great point. That's a great way to enter into the conversation about the abortion amendment.
yeah, because people get uncomfortable when you talk about it, and that's fine. I mean, I've done it enough times now where I don't really get uncomfortable anymore. But when people come to things that I do, and it can get uncomfortable sometimes, to be honest. But
Mm-hmm.
this is one where you would most people, if you go talk to just a regular person, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this, like, the baby survived, we should help it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We should
Right.
help that child.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a no-brainer. So I just wanted to tell you that, because even though it got passed by indefinitely, it is not gone
Not at
in
all.
vain or not been helpful or something.
No.
I appreciate it. And I mean, I was really surprised it even got docketed. I expected them to just never even let it see the light of day. So, you know, as long as as God has me in that seat, I will continue bringing that one forward, and I will force them to vote on it. And that's,
Amen.
you know, my prayer and my hope is that we could get to a point where that would be a bipartisan bill.
What I don't understand, and we were talking about this off air at lunch today, Delegate, what I don't get is we have several candidates that are running for congressional seats this year. We've got candidates running against, got Kim Farrington, you got David Williams and such running for the Senate seat against Mark Warner. What bothers me about so many of the candidates that are running is so many of them have made absolutely no public statement about abortion, about the right to life. And I don't understand why they want to distance themselves. I mean, I do understand because they don't want to make that the crux of their campaign, and I get that because there are other things that are bothering the people of Virginia, for example. Now, I believe that, you know, Will and I have spoken several times. I believe that if you buy grapes from the grocery store, you would probably do yourself well to wash them off before you eat them so that you stay healthy. But that's not what is on the minds of Virginians. That's not, you know, they're not going to elect an individual because they think that you eat too many pesticides. That's not what is on their mind. And so it's troubling to me. It seems to me, like what Will said, that they ought to be waving the flag as Republican candidates, that this is the bill that they killed in Richmond. The three candidates running for Congressional District 7 should be waving this flag, that even though Eugene Vidman was not in Richmond, this is Eugene Vidman's party, and this is what their party wants. They literally are the party of death because they are okay with going ahead and letting a child who was born out of the womb alive, they are okay with the continuing process of letting that child die, which includes the botched abortion of a 30-week child who is fully formed, has been able to live outside of the womb for the last 9 weeks. They're okay with letting that 30-week-old child out of the womb as a result of a botched abortion die. They're okay with that. And what I don't understand, Delegate Hamilton, is that the Republican candidates not enraged with this and waving this flag to the people of Virginia, because even if you're pro-choice, you ought to be anti killing a child outside of the womb.
Yeah. I see what you mean. I think there has been a lot of, I would say, pressure from the top down to be quiet about the abortion issue. And that's very frustrating to say. I have been told by people not, you know, at the very top, but local people and leadership to please stop talking about abortion. That issue is is over, and we always lose every time we bring that up. So I just say that to say that is the opinion widespread
Yeah.
of people running campaigns, people in leadership. They want to win elections, and they don't want to touch that issue if they don't have to. And to be honest, because the federal government and SCOTUS kicked it back down to the states, they feel like, okay, we don't have to really touch this one. And I think I haven't paid close attention to all the candidates to see if any of them have brought it up. But I certainly know the ones I have spoken to are trying to not bring that up because they just think it's a losing issue for them. And they feel like it's one that they don't really have to talk about because the states are going to handle it. I would like to see them support our opposition to the amendments statewide. I know several of them attended the March for Life in Virginia and have spoken on the amendments to some degree. So I see some of it. I would like to see more of it. I think you're right, Doctor. It's a strong position to say we stand for life, and we stand for there are so many other aspects to this amendment that we could discuss, parental consent, protections of the woman. I feel like no matter what district you're in Virginia, and there are some difficult ones, you could frame opposition for this amendment in a way that is palatable, and even pro-choice people are saying, yes, this is too extreme.
Yeah, I believe that you could.
I see a reluctance from the Republican Party in general to want to take it to our opposition on these amendments, and I'm extremely frustrated. I'm hoping the churches are gonna pick up the slack.
Well, and that's why we started this whole thing, is because exactly like you're talking about, it should be us Christians leading the charge, like you as a delegate. And I know it's just two of us right now. But I mean, there's more than two of us, but you should feel confident, not because of whatever the Republicans say, but that you can stand on life, and there's a whole bunch of people behind you supporting you in that. And when candidates don't want to speak on it, it should be the Christians who go, well, wait a second, if you're not going to speak on life, what else are you not going to speak on then? Like, I get that they kicked it to the states. I totally understand that. But if you're not willing to speak on life, then when you get to DC, what are you also going to be quiet about? And Christians, I say it every episode, for Christians have got to come together and support people that are going to Richmond or going to DC, that are doing things like you're doing, and encouraging you, because people have to wake up. And it's right now, it's the unborn. I don't even like calling it that. It's babies. Right now it's babies, but that's not where it stops.
Right.
It's just not. Look through history.
No.
And sooner or later, it's going to be the elderly. It'll be euthanasia, and it'll be, and then who's deciding that? It's going to be insurance companies and doctors.
Yeah.
Right.
And then what's next after that? It's going to be, well, it's already to the disabled, right? Because we had that whole YouTube thing with the YouTube guy.
Right. Yeah, I agree, and I'm curious to hear your perspective of this, because like one of my thoughts as to why I think the church has been hesitant to be at the forefront of these issues that are seen as political, but we know they're not. They've become political because the church has been absent. But I personally believe that there is so much shame surrounding these issues, because at this point, like 1 in 4 women have had an abortion. There's a lot of women sitting in church pews that have had an abortion. And until they have the courage to share that testimony, and God says in his word and in Revelation that we overcome Satan by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And we start unlocking that power through the testimony of what God has carried us through despite our sin. And I think we're going to see the chains of this around our country fall away. And, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, in many ways, that was kind of like Goliath fell. We thought that was never going to happen, but Goliath fell. But right after that, the battle wasn't over. They had to chase the Philistines out of the land, battle by battle. And I think that's where we are now. And we're seeing people that are kind of battle weary, and we need the church now more than ever to be loud about this issue and telling people in their congregation, not just about the amendments, but hey, this is when the vote is, and you need to go register to vote. Like, we can no longer just say we want to stay out of politics when because our absence has allowed many spiritual issues to become political
Yep.
issues. Now
Mhm.
we've got to engage in the political realm because we failed to earlier. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I texted Dr. Huffman this when I was on the plane because I couldn't sleep on the plane. I can't. And so I had 5 hours on my hands. And the church has lost its strength. So what we practice now, and the majority of churches, and this isn't a judgment, this is just the truth, is it's called um, monotheistic therapeutic deism. Sorry, it's a big theological term, which basically means therapy, uh,
Mhm.
God through therapy. And the problem is, and we talk about this a lot on this show, is that people are missing the actual power of the gospel.
Mhm.
When you fail to preach the entire gospel, and it's the same thing in progressive churches. I've had debates with progressive pastors, and those churches are miserable. Like I've had
Mhm.
progressive pastor. Well, to be fair, I've only had one ever come to my church, and he couldn't get over how welcoming it was and how warm it was, and everyone talked to each other. And like he
Mhm.
was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing, just preaching the gospel. It's not rocket science." Um, and so the church has done that, and it's also coming from the seeker friendly. So we're decades now into just bad doctrine,
Mhm.
and it's causing people to miss the entire gospel, which is the only healing thing in this world. It's the only thing that gets people sober. It's the
Mhm.
only and keeps them sober. It's the only thing that can heal from an abortion. Is Jesus Christ. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Mhm.
Myself, I say it all the time. Jesus literally saved my life. Like not metaphorically, not some abstract thing, like literally. Um, and so the church has lost its strength, and we have
Mhm.
a lot of people that don't want to be uncomfortable. We're very
Mhm.
comfortable in our lives, even with all the taxes. Like people will get upset, and then they'll just do it though. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? We get comfortable. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what it is now. Now I'll be comfortable again. I was
Mhm.
outraged for a second. Um, and so that's where the church is, though. The church will get outraged. Um, and even the big denominations will get outraged, and then they'll stop a little bit. Like,
Mhm.
and it'll go back to normal. We were talking about the conferences. People get fired up. You go to a conference, a Christian conference, you get fired up, and but then you go back and it's the same, right? And that's where the church is, and the church needs reformation. That's why you don't see revival. Like people get really upset at me when they're like, "Well, I pray for revival. I honestly do." But the reason you don't see it is because the church has not repented. It.
Yeah, the church is not selling the message that the gospel has made such a huge impact on my life that I'm on fire.
Mhm.
I'm filled with joy. Like
Yeah.
uh, the church is lukewarm on so
Yeah.
many things, and it's not attractive. It's not the attraction that it's supposed to be. Now, of course, there are exceptions. I know plenty of Bible
Sure.
preaching churches that are growing, that are full of the Spirit and things like that. But when I say the church, I mean as a whole in
Yeah, the big
America,
C.
we're seeing lots of false teaching and things like this. I mean, it's nothing that God didn't warn us about, but it's one thing to read it, and it's another thing to start to see it happen, and it's painful.
Yeah, it really is painful. And see, that's the really ironic part about the whole thing is you're correct. The churches that are preaching the entire gospel
Mm-hmm.
grow.
Mm-hmm.
All the other ones die off
Yes. Yes.
every single time, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
money or whether it's attendance or there's a number of different factors, but the ones that preach the gospel, they add people because especially now people want truth, like
Mm-hmm.
bedrock truth. And there is only one truth that has survived every single empire that this world has ever seen, and that is the Bible. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. The one.
Yep.
It will survive America. It will survive the progressives.
That's right.
It is always the same, and it never goes away. And that's where. Oh wait, I do want to ask one quick question.
Sure.
So one thing I get a lot when I go speak or at church, is people will come to me and they will hear the two of us, and they'll say, "Will, I get it. I understand what you're talking about. We need to get engaged. We need to do this. But then they do have a valid point, and here's their point. Why do I want to vote for the Republicans though? I don't feel comfortable doing that though. And that has always been, it's a valid point. And that's part of why we're trying to get Christians together to be more of a voice. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that, just that one, because I get asked that all the time.
I think it's like, it's one of Satan's best tricks is to kind of make us apathetic or make, you know, good the enemy or perfect the enemy of good sort of thing. I mean, seriously speaking, we really only have two options. Of course, you could vote third party, but unless we see an actual viable third party emerge, which we never have, you're voting for the lesser of two evils, and that will always be the case as long as we're on this fallen earth, you know. So I think it's just become more and more clear, like what you said when you're talking about the abortion amendment, and you'd use the Born Alive Act to illustrate just where they are on that issue. I mean, you could do that for many other issues. And that's kind of the argument, is that yes, Republicans are far from perfect, and I feel like I'm kind of on that far right extreme of trying to pull our party back into conservatism in some regards, because we keep on trying to shy away from social conservatism and even fiscal conservatism. I mean, this budget, back to the budget, this was an expansion of government, a huge expansion of government, and we still couldn't get all on the same page with that and oppose it. So it's a battle within our party to kind of shape what the future of it will be. But I can guarantee you, will mostly guarantee you, that it will be closer to what God would desire than what the Democrats are doing. So
that was, I like the apathy part.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah,
I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
That was really good. Yeah, isn't it wild that the three of us are considered far right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so far right that I'm anti-Semitic. I guess that's like the new latest thing or whatever. But I mean, it's just
that. I had to have a young person explain it to me before I went on vacation. That whole, they call it black pill.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, those people are mad. I mean,
well, yeah. They need to read their Bible and listen to a little bit less podcast, even though we're on a podcast.
except Kingdom Politics.
This one's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a concerning issue. Maybe we could touch on that one another time. But I think I had told you this on the phone at some point, Dr. Huffman, that I am the most concerned about us becoming a nation that curses Israel.
Yes.
As far as you know, when I'm looking at a federal candidate, I ask that question because I do not want to become a nation that curses Israel.
Right.
No, I'm with you on that. And yeah, that's probably a whole nother podcast episode. But
yeah,
that's one thing that I did a lot of reading while I was on vacation, because I love reading, and I didn't have the internet for 7 days. It was wonderful. And if the Republicans are not careful in the next 10 to 15 years, it's going to be the extremists that rise, because they're going to be faster on the internet. They're going to know how to move quicker. We move too slow.
Yes. And you know, they are selling propaganda that's very interesting. Their ideas catch fire because they're so extreme, and people want to click and listen and things like that. So we're up against a battle for the minds of the next generation, and we've got to win it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anything else, sir? Or
just to ask, are you also going to bring Sage's Law back next session, Delegate Hamilton?
I'm going to bring Sage's Law back, and I think it should pass. Don't you think?
I think it should have passed last time because it's a common sense thing. But again, it ought to be a flag that the Republican candidates are waving, that not only do they want to keep born alive children dead, they want to go ahead and let them die, but they also want to keep parents out of decisions regarding their children, which is at the very heart of what Sage's Law is all about. And I appreciated what President Trump did for her in the State of the Union address last time.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very heart-wrenching and very heart-touching moment. And my mind, of course, went back to your explanation of the bill in the House committee last year. And I think that should pass without any equivocation. But we also know at the same time that you're going up against a party of death. You're going against a party of unarming law-abiding citizens and letting criminals out of jail quicker. And we're going up against a party that wants parents out of the equation in all aspects of their life, abortion care, and with Sage's law, they want them out of their decision making as far as their gender confusion, and they certainly want them out of their children's education. And then, of course, there's Delegate Helmer's bill that was brought up that I debated him against in committee about the January 6th. And my point on that was, I don't care what side of the aisle you come down on, it's probably enough blame for everyone. But the question you have to ask is, Dr. Benjamin Rush, a signer of the Declaration of Independence and the father of the public schools in America, said that the public schools exist to teach children three things: love of family, love of country, and love of God. And he said, at what point the public schools cease to teach those three things, the public schools should cease to exist. And so I said, Delegate Helmer, how does this bill teach those children to love family, love country, and love God? And it doesn't. I don't care which side you come down on, whether it's a peaceful protest or an insurrection. It does not make our kids better citizens. It does not prepare them for life in a fallen world. It indoctrinates them with a particular mindset, whether it be, again, peaceful protest or insurrection. You are giving them a skewed indoctrination of society. So we all need to encourage the candidates running for federal seats to wave the flag of, not the white flag, but wave the flag of warning that this is what the party of death, this is what the Democrat Party wants. And again, the born alive thing for me is not about abortion. The child's born.
Yep.
Okay, the child's born. This is not about. I know that abortion. I know that the lawyers down at the Division of Legislative Services put on here abortion. I guess they just put it kind of under an umbrella.
Right. I learned a lot in my first session, and one thing I learned was that, the way they title your bill, it basically labels it one way or the other of whether or not it's going to succeed or just have a chance at succeeding. And they labeled several of my bills in such a way as to just trigger instant opposition. So
you see abortion and Karen Hamilton. We're going to say no to that.
That's right.
That should outrage citizens, though, because you should read the whole bill and you should do research, and you shouldn't be going off of a title.
Well, that's why they have to wave their flags, and that's why the Democrats have to wave their flags in the House session. I called what's her name? Destiny LeVere Bowling, waving her green flag, telling everybody how to vote, or waving the red flag, telling them, "Oh, come on, do your own cotton picking research, guys. That's why you're sent down there, not to follow a flag." I mean, my goodness gracious!
If you're a socialist, you just follow the flag, though.
Yeah, there's no flags on our side because on our side, we have genuine disagreement on our side, and we're allowed to do that. I am thankful for that. So it's a good thing.
Too.
Well, Delegate, thank you for being with us today. We've taken more of your time than we had anticipated, and I appreciate that. And you're certainly in our prayers, and we're certainly in your corner. And anything that we at Kingdom Politics or Virginia Assembly of Independent Baptists can do for you in your campaign and in your office, will be joining me this coming session or next session, some down the General Assembly. And so anything that we can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we will certainly be of much help as we can be. But thank you for being with us today.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed the conversation. And as we're leading up to the months closer to November and this referendum, I might be in touch to see if we can get some speaking engagements, kind of get some help going into churches and explaining these amendments. My goal is to try to go into churches on Sunday or Wednesday nights or whenever they would allow me and give them a one-pager explaining the moral significance of these amendments and why the church must take a stand and how they can register to vote. So that's kind of my goal, and I would appreciate as much help on that as possible. So
Absolutely.
appreciate you guys having me on.
You just give me a call, and I know I'll get you in my church, and so you give me a call, and we'll get you into other churches as well.
Okay. All
yeah,
right,
we're
great.
doing the same thing. Actually, well, I can't announce the plan because anyway, we got plans. We'll include you in those plans. We've already had meetings.
Okay.
We got big plans, Delegate Hamilton, and you're going to be involved. You just don't know about it yet.
Yeah, we already volunteered.
Okay,
voluntold you. Wait, before we go, is there anything you need to plug? We're getting good at this. Plugs.
No, I mean, you know, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, although sometimes I'm a little intermittent. But yes, I'm in all those places speaking my mind. So give me a follow.
Cool.
Absolutely.
And also HamiltonForVirginia.com, you know, takes money to run for office, and I need to get it in gear with my fundraising. So any donations are also appreciated. But thanks for having me on.
It's been an honor to be with you, and follow this video on YouTube. Hit the like and hit the subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. Show it to your friends and the family, and even people you don't like, people you want to get fired up. Show it to them as well. And you can email me at Dr. Michael at thekingdompolitics.org and Pastor Will at thekingdompolitics.org. Also follow Virginia Assembly of Independent Baptists at VAIB Sutherland, Virginia on Facebook. You can find us on X, you can find us on Instagram, or you can find us on the World Wide Web at www.vaib.org.
Man, that was good.
And I didn't practice that either. It just rolled right off the tongue. Why don't you take us out with Spurgeon, some spiritual?
Oh my goodness. We're going to close with our Spurgeon quote, and I pray everybody has a great week. Thank you again, Delegate Hamilton.
Thank you very much.
And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go